How do you feel in drag? What is it like? Like, do you feel like a different person when you're in drag?
Don't know about that, but I do feel powerful. I feel like, in retrospect, I grew up very shy, and also because kids are bullied, and
Right.
you can't really express a lot,
No, of
right?
course. Of course.
Like when you're feminine, and then you're frail, skinny, and then and I used to be that kid, so couldn't express so much. But when I'm in drag, it's funny because I feel like the dynamic changes, and for once I feel powerful, and for once people stop and listen to me what I have to say,
Right.
and that's why I love doing drag. It's just that shift in power.
Wow.
I love that little.
Play. Yeah,
I
that's
don't mind
nice.
having a little bit of power.
Hello, hola, and welcome back to the second season of Drumroll Please, the Queer Podcast. Today, we're going to explore a queer phenomenon that has been grabbing eyeballs and providing us with mad amounts of entertainment, aside from being a subversively political tool. And this is the magical, enchanting world of drag. And to shed more light on this is one of India's foremost legendary drag performers, Glorious Luna. Hello, Luna. Welcome to the Queer Podcast.
Thank you. And can we just say what a beautiful voice you have got here?
Me, I sound like
Yes.
Donald Duck, and
No way. What a
uh,
beautiful voice.
thank you. You have the beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Like so, Luna, as in terms of introduction, is a well-known model, drag performer, singer, and is also mother of the House of Luna. But more on that. They have successfully crossed over in terms of modeling as both genders. Hosted India's first ever drag ballroom night, which was called the IT Ball last year.
Yes, the
And
it ball.
the It Ball, sorry.
Yes.
And it looked amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Luna is also a co founder of Current Management, which is a talent agency that caters specifically to queer individuals. But more on this as we go along. So please tell me your preferred pronouns and please forgive any errors.
Well, honestly, I am beyond 30 now. I don't have the time
Right.
to. But as long as you're kind, I go with he, she, they, anything. Depends on what you're offering.
I love
So,
that.
yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So you have a bit of a relaxed perspective on.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I thought about it actually, and then it's actually, you know what? I don't know what my gender is, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, even if I'm old enough and I'm supposed to have an idea of what my gender is, but I don't. I think I'm a non-binary person,
Right.
and I am not a man nor a woman, and I don't know, so I'm okay with.
Crossing between genders.
Yeah, yeah,
Multi-gendered.
yeah, absolutely.
Multifaceted.
Yeah,
Faceted.
or nothing.
Or nothing. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So a little bit of history. I finally met Luna after a lot of gentle stalking early last year while researching a documentary project. And Luna is originally from Assam,
Yes.
then spent some years in Bhopal,
Yes.
and ended up in Auroville.
Ended up in Oroville, yeah.
How cool is that? And I think you were scouted over there for some modeling.
Yes.
Is that how it began?
Yes.
Yeah. Which eventually ended in or evolved into switching up the binary and doing shoots in drag and moving to Mumbai, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, have I got this right? Would you tell us a little bit about how the journey began?
Well, I was 17 when I left home, and I always wanted, because I grew up in Assam, and it was like a little, I do love a simpler life back home, but then I was also kind of a dreamer, and I wanted to kind of see the world, and I wanted to know how it works, and, watching films and watching other things, it kind of drives you to dream more. And after my 12th, I was like, my parents wanted me to become an engineer, like,
Oh, of course. Yeah. Like
same
all good
thing.
Indians. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? I can do architecture because I was always an artist. I always drew. I always,
Right.
did things, creative things. So I was like, architecture would be nice. Then, when I was doing architecture, I kind of like drifted away from it a little bit because I was always interested in performing arts.
Right.
So I met my theater director when I was, I think, 21.
Okay.
She was from France. Her name was Gladys. And she found me in a cafe, which was, by the way, my cafe. I
Oh,
was always a little bit of an entrepreneur, actually, now
yeah.
that I think about it,
Yeah. At
So,
20.
yes, we had this really fun space, me and another journalist friend of mine. We kind of wanted to create a space for artists and queer people, of course. And yeah, so that's where and the cafe name was Cafe Fitur. How
Ah,
cool is that,
yeah,
right?
that's cool.
Yeah, it was next to the lake, the big lake in Bhopal.
Right.
It was quite revolutionary for its time.
Yeah, and Bhopal.
Bhopal, it got shut because our cafe was next to the CM's house, and we were doing so many fun things, at least in our heads.
Right.
But obviously, they were like, no, this is vulgarity and whatever, so and so forth. And they were like, this needs to shut down. So, yeah, that happened. But moving on, yeah, then I started doing theater. And theater kind of opened me up to a different approach towards life, I think. And after finishing 4 years, I somehow finished 4 years and I had to do an internship. So, and I chose Oroville to do my internship. And when I reached there, I was like, wow, everybody's smiling at everyone. And it's so funny. For the first time, I felt like that I was not this queer person.
Ah,
Nobody bothered,
Right, right. I
with
see.
who I was.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, that's it.
So in a positive, empowered kind of way.
Yes. Like, it was so different for me to be not seen
Yeah.
in that way, how the
Right.
world looks at you,
Right.
as
Though
a queer
obviously,
person.
from what I'm getting, you were pretty comfortable and quite self-aware and self-actualized with the queerness.
Yes, like so it was so funny. Well, I'll tell you a story, what happened. So in my college, when I just got to my first year, in the institutes, there used to be raggings, right? So
Right.
there was heavy ragging in my college. And I was thinking, my God, my batchmates were getting beaten black and blue.
Eek.
And I just needed to get out of that. I was like, how do I now not get beaten
Yeah.
up? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come out. Because in my head, I thought if I come out as gay, I think they will probably consider it.
Right.
And considered it, and how?
Oh,
They
God.
were actually scared of me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I said, if you touch me, I'm gonna touch you back.
Simple. Oh, I love
Simple.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that worked.
So they kept away from you.
Yeah. I was the only person, and my friends were kind of jealous
Right.
because I was the only person who didn't get ragged.
Touch you back.
Right? Yes, 17.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you and why did you start doing drag? Was it like an expression of your feminine side? Was it something like, or you one of many of us little boys who used to dress in mama's clothes?
Yes.
Ah.
Absolutely. But also I was drawing a lot, and I used to draw these creatures, and it was not really gendered though. It was so funny. Like when I was probably 5-6 years old, I used to sketch these creatures, but with fantastic hair, big costumes, but not really gendered in any
Right.
way. But also when I had this cafe, right? I was doing drag without realizing that I was doing drag. I was always performing for people. For example, I was serving food and performing and
Right.
singing and stuff like that. And I used to wear
How
these.
cool.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't have any I didn't even know what Drag Race was, for example.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I wore all these huge costumes and had headgears and stuff, and I would, walk around and sing around. People
So
would
you
love it.
obviously enjoyed the performative sort of
Yeah.
aspect of dressing up and
Yeah.
being something.
Yeah.
that's-
Yeah, absolutely. I do enjoy the performativity of gender,
Right.
I think.
Right. Yeah.
Even today.
Yeah. How do you feel in drag? What is it like? Like, do you feel like a different person when you're in drag?
Don't know about that, but I do feel powerful. I feel like, in retrospect, I grew up very shy. and also because kids are bullied and
Right.
you can't really express a lot,
No, of
right?
course. Of course.
Like when you're feminine and then you're frail, skinny, and then and I used to be that kid, so couldn't express so much. But when I'm in drag, it's funny because I feel like the dynamic changes, and for once I feel powerful, and for once people stop and listen to me what I have to say,
Right.
and that's why I love doing drag. It's just that shift in power.
Wow.
I love that little.
Play. Yeah,
I
that's
don't mind
nice.
having a little bit of power.
So, actually, in my mental health
Mm,
counseling avatar,
mm,
I've read and experienced of how drag performers often feel like they live two identities.
mm,
And then they mention having differing attitudes and
mm,
differing mechanisms for self care towards their drag persona
mm,
and themselves.
mm.
So, somewhere you start seeing a kind of split.
Sure.
I don't think split personality is a dangerous and wrong word to
Mm,
use, but
mm.
it's almost like you're inhabiting two different identities. Do you have some of that? Do you feel?
Yeah, some. I do think that definitely like Glorious Luna and Suraj, which is my real name.
I was going to ask, are we allowed to know
Yeah,
your
yeah,
real
of
name?
course, Suraj. I do think like I would say Suraj is the creator, and Glorious Luna would the creation, and I think as any the creator would have obviously more life, and the creation would probably be like it's like almost like a painting, right? You just
Right,
keep it hanging because it's
right,
pretty or to
right.
look at, or
Yeah,
it won't necessarily you're not living your life.
correct.
It's almost like that to
But
me.
since as Luna you feel this sense of power,
Yeah.
then is there a personality difference between Suraj and Luna?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think like as Suraj, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things that I do as Glorious Luna. For example, I would still be awkward to like if there are new people, I
Right,
would be very awkward as me to go and talk or to start a conversation.
right,
I would wait for the other person to start
right,
the
right.
conversation.
But as Luna,
As Luna, I'm just
you
so
own the room.
confident, and I think it just comes with
Yeah.
the shit ton of makeup that you put, and you look pretty and you look
Fierce.
fierce,
Yeah.
and I think it translates into
Yeah.
your behavioral aspect.
But because a lot of performers on RuPaul's Drag Race do testify to this,
Yeah.
that they, their drag persona was a place where they could become somebody else, where they could, like have a
Yeah.
different personality. They
Yeah.
could be someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, yeah, you're right. We all do get bullied as kids and we
Yeah.
all do get silenced to some extent. So
Mm.
it's amazing to have that kind of outlet.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like drinking, like when you get drunk, you become like,
Yeah.
and you have a lot of repressed feelings, and
Right.
then you never get to experience those because you think like, oh no, I don't know how this is gonna play out. But then when you're in drag, you can take those things out and you can say it, and people will be like, oh, that's a nice joke,
Yeah.
and you get away with that, and
Yeah.
you can say anything and you get away with
Yeah.
that.
I
So
mean, drag is subversive. It
yeah,
does cross lines. So
yeah.
you are allowed to, in a sense, be quite
Yeah, because you're
in.
on stage,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it's easier when you're on stage for people like us to express than in real life. So I
Right.
feel like in real life, I don't get to express as much as
As
I am on.
much.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
So today, drag has really captured the world. You see drag in all the arts in some form or the other. Of course, there's TV shows. The RuPaul's franchise is now in many countries, and we are all trying very hard to get it to India. Yes?
it is hard. Yeah, because the government is not ready.
Tan tan tan. Okay, and you also see it in the arts, in dance, in fashion, of course, in fine arts, in film, in literature, in theater, etc., etc. So I feel like younger people are really embracing drag. They
Yeah.
really enjoy drag. Yeah,
Yeah.
why do you think that's happening?
Well, that's happening because younger people are fearless, right? They don't mind experimenting, and
Nice.
they're much more open, much more,
Yes.
like when you're young, you want to do things, you
Yeah.
want to do wild things, and
Yeah.
drag is wild,
Yes. It's
experimenting with your looks, your
gender.
behavior, your gender. It's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, we were always taught not to do all of these things, but
Yes.
young people, how can you stop them?
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, so you're right. It is fierceness and it's a lack of inhibition
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
stuff. So while an account of gender subversive practices in India is missing, unfortunately, we don't have any recorded history of this, but gender and sexual non-conformity were very present in Orientalist cultures like ours. And then, of course, the damn colonizers and Victorian morality came and killed it all.
Correct.
Damn these colonizers. So, are you aware of any of these myths? Were any of them an inspiration to you? Do you ever reference like Indian culture in your drag?
I just recently did. I took a road trip to Ajanta and Ellora, and I saw these beautiful paintings and these sculptures. And in recent performance that I did in Kitisu, I was kind of inspired to do like a little bit of and going back to what I heard as a kid, the instruments that they were played, and so I kind of picked little things, and so yeah, I kind of get inspired
By
and
Indian culture
Indian
as well.
culture, and
Nice. So you were
yeah,
doing Apsara things.
yeah, Apsara things, correct.
Nice,
Yeah, so
nice. Okay. And what about this whole theory that drag and homosexuality are Western?
I think it's stupid.
Simple, simple
I
answer.
don't think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
In film, of course, we have a lot of drag, even
Yeah,
in Indian cinema,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Sure, and
Yeah,
it's always like that's the thing. Drag was always for the purpose of comedy.
right,
But drag could be anything, you know.
right.
Yeah, but the fact that we used drag as just to have a little laugh,
Yeah.
and which is probably why it took so much of time for India to embrace it, like the
Right.
way we are doing it now. America had to show it to you,
Right, unfortunately.
you know,
Yeah, but
how
we've
to
had a long
capitalize.
history of that, counterculture
Exactly.
culture, all
Yeah.
that, right? So there have been films where, and of course, drag in film, early cinema, male performers. I think there was somebody called Raja Hari Salunke, who was the first silent movie actor
Right.
from a Maharashtrian background who played women's characters and was very successful. Then you have drag where it's used also as a plot driver in films like Half Ticket, Hasina Maan Jayegi, Rafu Chakkar, which was with Rishi Kapoor and Paintal, which was Some Like It Hot but done in an Indian context. Chachi 420, which
Right.
Kamla
Yeah.
Hassan.
That's a fantastic
Yeah, then
film.
we have female drag in films like Victoria 203, Mr. India, and Dil Bole Hadippa, which with Rani Mukherjee recently. So even though, like you said, drag has been kind of diminished by vulgar comedy, it has still endured because even someone as legendary as the Big B, Amitabh Bachchan, has a very successful song
Yeah.
which he's done in drag, and a lot of our male actors
Yeah.
do
And
drag.
in a very recent film where my drag mother was featured, Thank You for Coming. I mean, she did a
Oh,
fantastic job.
so
Yeah, as a
Rani's your drag mother?
yeah, Rani's my drag mother.
Oh, you're one of Rani's daughters.
Yeah. Yes.
God, that bitch, she says she's 30.
Yeah.
She's obviously much, much older, right? I hope she's listening to this because she really shamed me
I'm
on this
not gonna
podcast.
say
Yeah.
anything.
So tell me about your fashion journey. How did that begin? I mean, you've got the height
Yeah, I got the height. Yeah, and the body.
and the body. Yeah.
Well, not really. I mean, today it's a lot. I'm happy that the fashion industry has become diverse and welcomes people from different walks of lives.
Right.
And it's yeah. So for me, earlier we are literally the first generation of androgynous models, and
Yeah,
before me, Anjali Lama was a
correct.
was a
Transgender, right.
woman, and
From Nepal but settled in India.
yeah. But for people like us who's not necessarily identifies as women, or
You're not trans.
I'm trans, but I'm not. I'm in between.
Right.
I'm not an assimilist.
Right, understood.
I would not want to put myself in a certain. I wouldn't like to
Category
limit myself.
And that's amazing. That's amazing.
So yeah, for people like us, it's still like it's not very easy
Right.
because you don't. But fashion would still take it because fashion is edgy and it's
Correct.
about like that.
Correct. So who have you walked for?
Well, I have done Well, Gaurav Gupta, Manish Malhotra, Abujani Sandeep Khosla,
All the
and
big ones.
all the, yeah, and the small ones,
Right.
and
And
the new ones.
yeah. And
Yeah.
is it kind of weird? Do they kind of like, is it ever awkward that they say we need you to wear this? Or is there ever any awkwardness about?
No, I go as a model. I don't put my feelings to it so much unless I feel some type of way, like if I'm being abused or, you know.
Has that ever happened?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, like how? I mean, don't know names, but like,
Yeah, well, sometimes they think if you're the queer person in the group, you're the easy one. So they would be like, oh, so sometimes they would, ask you to come do a campaign and they didn't tell you what are the details. For
right,
example, you might have to be on camera with a man
right,
and being all touchy and all of that. But I wasn't informed that,
right, awkward.
and then when you tell me on set that, oh, this is just a queer person, so she's
Doesn't
gonna do it
matter.
anyways.
So there's negating.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that has happened.
So tell me, how do you keep two wardrobes?
Yes.
You have like a male,
Yeah,
a mom.
sometimes it gets mixed because I'm also kind of messy, so
Right.
but I do have two separate wardrobes.
Right.
Yes.
And it must be more expensive. Makeup, wigs,
Drag is very
accessories.
expensive. I mean, what I earn, I spend double because I also have taste. So, so and also like, okay, so drag to me also a lot of storytelling, like through the costuming, through my performance. If somebody is into a little bit of, I don't know, like referencing, or somebody, when I put on a show, people who are interested, they would know that where am I coming from.
Yes,
So there is
absolutely.
always that. I'm not just putting shit together and calling
Correct.
it a day.
No, definitely. There is thought. There is,
But I'm not devalidating other drag though. I mean, there are all kinds of drag.
of course,
But when it
of
comes
course,
to me, I would also, even if I have put nails, I would have a thought
to the
behind
nails. Yeah.
what color,
Right.
what kind of story am I gonna
Tell.
tell?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so it's amazing because actually drag involves so much. There is fashion, there's makeup, there's creation of a character, there's
yeah,
storytelling, there's gender politics that
yeah,
are going on.
yeah,
It's really a
absolutely.
lot.
Yeah,
And it must be expensive.
it is very expensive. It
Yeah.
is very expensive. But now, like last year or so, because I have become a little bit of, like a little popular.
Star. Yeah.
Not, I wouldn't say
Star.
that. That's a stretch. But popular. So now designers don't mind giving me,
Ah,
you know. And
their outfits to wear.
recently, my friend Mohit Rai was very kind to do a custom piece for me, and
Wow.
then I was
Design
very
something for
happy.
you.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
probably the market cost would be like some 3-4 lakhs
Lakhs.
rupees. I
Yeah.
was so happy to receive that.
And Gaurav Gupta has done work for Rani.
Yes,
So,
exactly. So yeah, so now times are changing.
yeah,
I'm happy.
which is
It's
amazing. And I think it's you
exciting.
guys who are pushing that envelope. But now, strangely, right wing politicians and activists, especially in the West, are banning drag in America.
Yeah.
Drag is banned in some states.
Yeah, but I think it has nothing to do with drag. It has everything to do with like they're just using it to deflect some real problems. Like,
Right.
please tax the rich. Can we just talk about the real issues?
Yeah.
Like drag queens.
Because,
Why?
because they say that this is
You know,
grooming and
I
sexualizing children.
yeah.
And
You know who are the real groomers. We all know.
the breeders and the groomers.
Hey,
Yeah. But it's crazy.
it is.
And at the same time, it kind of is gaining popularity in India in an urban context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's also because the times that we are living in, it's so polarized that we choose to we always have extreme opinions of things,
Right.
like,
Yes.
and because it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to accept something as black or white.
Correct.
It's not, because navigating the gray zones is the
Challenge.
nuances of life. It's very challenging.
Very
If you're not smart or intelligent, you won't be able to do it.
What about drag queens? Do you love them? Do you hate them?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
And drag kings, what kind of response does that invoke?
It's so sad that a lot of the drag kings, you know, complain that how they are not being booked.
Right.
And it's just simply because that masculinity cannot be capitalized as much as femininity.
I find this whole thing that you're saying very interesting.
So
The
it's,
capitalization of being feminine.
yeah. If you don't reinvent yourself, I think it's, I mean, don't blame, because sometimes the drag kings can be really bitter and, just
Unhappy.
unhappy because drag queens are booking jobs.
Sure.
But it's just because you're not thinking new
Right.
also,
Or changing it up.
or changing it up a
Right,
little bit.
right.
So, and it's sad that how the system works.
Sure.
But also you have to find a
Work
way
within the
to
system, yeah.
make it work for
Yeah.
you. So
Because there are some cool drag kings, and these
Absolutely.
are F2M subversions. There's
Yeah.
Emperor Nas, there's Maxian.
Oh my God,
there's,
I am such a fan of Nas and Max Stallion.
Right.
My
Nah,
God,
Stallion.
they have cracked the code on how to capitalize
On the
on masculinity.
Wow.
And I salute. I mean, I love the way they present themselves in terms of costume. Like so well put together.
Yeah.
In terms of performance, they would learn choreography. They would come with energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because listen, if people are not eating what you're serving, that means you're serving the wrong dish.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So instead of being bitter, I would say go back.
To the kitchen.
No.
Yeah. No, I mean metaphorically. Metaphorically.
Go back and maybe see like what you could change and how you could redefine, because queerness is about redefining everything.
Right.
Right.
And there's a young breed of drag kings. There's Bloody
Absolutely.
Kamina, and there's other
Yeah.
drag kings who are coming. I think it's cool that they're, starting to do this, because
Yeah.
everybody should be allowed the expression.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's
Exactly.
interesting that you talk about the commercialization.
Yeah.
That is interesting because it's one of the few industries where that exists,
Yeah.
right? Where female models are paid way more than male models.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
No? Okay. On a personal note, because we are reaching the end of
Yeah.
our chat, tell me about drag and dating misadventures. I hope I've warmed you up now so that you have no filters left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what demographic hits on you the most?
I don't know. Slightly kinky ones, I suppose, because
Slightly kinky men.
slightly kinky man. Well, I would beg to differ, because there have been a few events where there were some women who would actually, and it's very gropey and very
Touchy-feely.
touchy, because you don't really expect that from women, right?
Right.
Because you always want, like, you expect them to be.
Yeah.
I'm not generalizing. Stop it. I'm not generalizing. It's always mostly men, though.
Yeah, must be mostly men, no?
Mostly men.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in one or two events in Bombay, and obviously queer women also.
Yeah, must be finding it exciting, attractive.
Don't know for what joy. And also, alcohol is another
Right.
problem, right? That's why, like, queer spaces and alcohol and safety issues are like, it's
All
linked.
intertwined.
Intertwined,
right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But have you had any fans and admirers and who you've had to tell that actually...
Yeah, I have told. I was like, I have a little ding dong there. So, I hope you're okay with that. And they would say, yes, I'm okay with it. Because at that time, they would do anything, right? So,
Alcohol.
yeah, man. That way, men are kind of like open.
Really?
Open to possibilities. And I
Really?
feel like, yeah, mostly, I would.
That hasn't deterred them when you've said...
No, don't think they care so much.
Right.
Like, the illusion of femininity is what works.
Right. Because I do see on like certain apps like Planet Romeo that the forums which are about I'm thinking what's the right term, chicks with dicks, sex workers who work in those areas like
Yeah.
trans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They are very popular with
Very
men.
popular.
They like to get fucked actually by chicks with dicks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It's a king.
well, the word kink also, like when I hear it, I'd be like, no, it's just a part of them. I think
Right.
let's not define it as
As
kink.
kink.
It's what they want. You know.
I find that very fascinating because it's really mixing it up.
Yeah, and also like these men, like at least in my life, my experience, most of these men are like really in very high positions in their work and stuff like that. So they're the bosses. So I feel like, but because human minds, we have this slave mindset, right? We want to submit to something. Like it could be
Right.
God, it could
Right.
be,
Right.
I don't know, it could be your girlfriend. So they like to do that. So I think
Right.
it's
There's
like,
like a power thing as well.
it's for them, it's that also. They like to
Yay, this
give
has
that,
become very edgy suddenly, our
you
little
know?
chat. So I think when we met last year, you told me that you always had this urge and instinct to be a mother.
Right.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, I told you also, it happened very organically. I mean, I just met my kids, and then, they were also kind of like little lost queer kids. And I was like, yeah, let's just do this. Let's create House of Luna, and also I'm always about like creating something. Like,
Right.
I like this. Um, when something happens and when people get together and you create something beautiful. So that's what House of Luna is, I think, because we create so many things. We created it events.
No, and also I think that's what I think is really lovely because you've hit a lot of success as a model. Then you create the It Ball and the It events.
Yeah.
Then you start this agency, which I
Yeah.
think is amazing, which is called Current Management.
Current management.
Would you
Yeah.
tell us about that, please?
So it came sheer out of frustration because when I started, a lot of people thought I was exciting and I was this new
Exotic.
girl, exotic, was born a man, but has like these weird features and so on and so forth. But nobody wanted to represent me. And I was like,
Right.
oh, but you want to work with me, but you don't want to represent me.
The
What?
issue.
Yeah, what's the issue? And I always thought it was like this fantasy of sort that I would do it at some point.
Right.
And 6 years down the line, now I am sort of successful as a whatever, the token trans model or androgynous model. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this to my hands, and then my very dear friend Ninkala, who's like one of my best friends, and we really work well together.
Right.
Has great chemistry.
This is Nin.
Ninkala, yeah,
Yeah,
who's
Ninkala.
also a model,
Also androgynous.
also androgynous.
Also someone whose gender I'm not really sure of. to
Yeah,
be
exactly.
honest.
She's the same.
Right.
We refer each other as she, her, but
Right.
it's with all the gays.
But born AMAB?
AMAB, yes,
Right,
assigned male at birth.
Right. Can't tell.
Cannot tell. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the ambiguity, right?
Yeah.
And also that's why when people sometimes tell me, "Oh, why don't you take that extra step and become?" But I don't want to be a woman. Can you imagine being this second-class citizen? Why? What aspiration is that?
I didn't,
You know?
I didn't see that coming. That's
No,
tragic,
but
but yeah, you're
it's
right.
tragic. Why would I be a woman?
Especially in our country.
Like I would, I would just rather be it
Yeah.
than a she, her.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Although I'm feminine and all of that, but
But-
how society treats a woman,
But have you had trouble like on the streets?
Absolutely. I mean, anytime I like walk into a space, people always try to figure out like what the fuck is that? But I have made peace with that,
Right.
obviously. But
And you get stared at on the road.
yeah, of course. I mean, I don't take the local train anymore. For example, I would have to spend like 1,000 rupees to go to like, I don't know, Thane.
Right.
But I could just take the train. But
Yeah.
it's just because why do
It's
I
too
even
much.
bother?
Right.
I'm just going to be riled up and
Right.
just for a peace of
Aggravated,
mind.
yeah.
And I'm like, it's okay.
That's
How
sad.
the world works. And
That's
it's sad and
yeah.
you're below me.
Yeah. Current management? Are you
Current
all-
management, yeah. So coming back to the point is that it came out of frustration. We got together, me and Kala, and we're like, let's just create this and see where it goes. So we created current management exclusively to represent queer talents, any kind of talents, makeup, hair, styling,
Oh, excellent. So it's not just
models,
modeling.
actors. No, not just
Oh,
modeling.
amazing.
And
Okay.
drag queens. We have drag queens. You know,
Right.
who would have thought there
Yeah.
would be an agency
For
which
drag queens in
in
India.
India. So now we
Amazing.
represent all kinds of talents. And I think we are even planning to shift towards, I don't know, could be a writer, could be a musician. So I'm open. We are open
To queer talent,
to
to
queer,
repping queer
to
talent.
any queer talent.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And the kind of emails that we get, like, I don't know, from Sikkim and then these 16
Huh.
years old
Yeah,
kids.
tell
And I
me that.
tell them, I was like, wait until you're 18. Like, I want at least you to have a sense of life,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and then come.
But you must be a huge source of inspiration. You're a small town kid
Yeah.
who kind of broke barriers, broke boundaries. Do you
Yeah.
also get kids who are like whose lives you're touching and changing? I'm sure
Yeah,
you
I
are.
do. I do get DMs like that, and
What kind of stuff?
well, you know, just it's touching stuff. You know,
Yeah.
they
That's so
really
sweet.
young and sweet and naive. You know,
No, at
DMs
least they
and
have someone they can look up to and
I'm so
write
happy to
to.
do
Like
that.
you probably didn't. I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
You know, so it's amazing that in India now we have the queer kids have role models. You know, I used to be scared about becoming a director because I didn't see any role models. I only saw queer makeup artists and fashion designers when I
We
was.
saw Bobby Darling. She was our only voice.
Yeah,
And can you
Bobby
imagine? I
Darling,
used to be
that's
called Bobby Darling in school. And
just because you were queer.
yeah. And now she was our voice, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
then
true.
we used to be so like, my God, don't call
Cringy,
me.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. But hats off to her because I remember she was very brave at the time to own who she was and do
Yeah.
what she was, do what she did actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So amazing. So good luck for current management.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other future plans? I know you have a lot on your plate and there's a lot going on. There's, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like, I constantly think about new ideas because that's what I think my purpose is, to think about just ideas
Right.
and to make them happen. And thankfully, I have a brilliant family and brilliant friends who
Support.
believe in me, who I
Support
believe
system.
in,
Yeah.
support system.
Yeah.
And we just kind of work well together. So we would be coming with a lot of other new things. Just be prepared.
Wait and watch. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, Luna. So this chat has come to an end. I just want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, your generosity, your politics, your thought processes, and so much love and luck for all your ventures, your mothering, and for all like the new stuff and your creation of a house of like a dynasty, like a house dynasty.
Well, thank
So
you for
you are
having
the
me.
first house in India, I think, the House of Luna.
No, House of Kohinoor is the first house.
Oh, that's right,
Who I
Rani.
come from, Rani's house,
right.
and my mother.
And do you still? Are you still? Do you
Oh,
still,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still my mother, of course.
And you
now my
still-
kids have a grandmother.
Right.
Imagine
Yeah.
having Rani as their grandmother.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just like, and it sometimes like drives me crazy to kind of continue that legacy. I'm like, please don't expect me to be her.
Right.
Very
but
different people. and-
Yeah, but you've got your own take. You've got your own niche and your own kind
Yeah.
of way of doing things.
Yeah. I have my own ways of doing things and I don't like to be pressurized. So I create my own little ecosystems that I can work in. And that's why I created Current Management. That's why I created It Events, because I just wanted to also take drag out
Right.
to different spaces and
Correct.
see how people react to it.
Correct. And it is happening.
Experimenting.
I see drag performers at weddings.
Yeah, I have done a few of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that it's all getting mixed up and it's
Yeah.
kind of getting to be not so shocking or unusual anymore.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And even if it's shocking at the first, I'll still take that money.
She's a commercial.
I'll take
hoe.
it. Yeah.
No, of course. And so you should. You're doing something.
And I
which
live in
is-
Bandra, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Girl, please.
rent.
Rent. My God.
All right. Thank you so much. I
Thank
believe
you
this.
for having me. Thank you for giving me a voice. And thank you for creating this platform.
Thank
and you have been a legend and we all look up to you. And no, really, thank you for showing
How
us the
sweet.
way.
Thank you, darling.
And
I feel like y'all are showing me the way.
No
like now I want to do drag.
I'll
I
definitely
want to
put
do
you in drag.
grandmother drag.
Imagine if I put you in drag, then I would become your drag mother.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be sick. Let's
I
do
have a
this.
54-year-old drag
Yeah,
daughter.
why not?
She's a bit bald, but
Why not? No, we
she's
have
fun.
wigs.
Yeah,
bitch.
yeah, you all
Let's
have
do this.
wigs. That's true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Please
you.
continue doing all the amazing stuff you're doing. I'm really excited to see where all of you go with what y'all are doing. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm really invested and excited about that. I believe this was your first podcast, which
is my
doesn't
first
seem. You have an
podcast.
amazing voice. You should use that as well, not just metaphorically, but also
Yeah.
actually. You don't sing?
Yeah. I do. I sing a little bit of jazz.
Ah, can we end with a little, just a line?
Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Ooh, summertime, and the living is easy, bitch.
Wow, you have a voice. That was very sexy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
you.
Luna. See
Thank you
you.
so much.
Lots of
See
love.
you. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.